Across the weekend, Bitcoin has managed to break out of this SA or sell arc. Now, what we need to do is to keep our eye on the 71,000 and the 73,000 resistance. The 67,800 could be a likely area where we could see a bit of a retracement before we continue up, or we could even pull back to the 66,000. Both those options would be very healthy. One thing to keep in mind, whenever you see a breakout in terms of price history, just make sure that you're watching where a retracement level is possible and if it also holds. Don't really care too much about what social media is saying. People are either permanently bullish or permanently bearish. We need to be permanently realistic and just understand price is always moving in a wave-based function, always up and down, up and down. Take advantage of it. It's possible that many people are mystified. What's brought Bitcoin up? Well, we know that Bitcoin cannot escape the stock market's gravity. So what are we seeing with the S&P 500 futures? They're coming up and pulling Bitcoin up with it. What about the NASDAQ futures? Same thing. The blue line is Bitcoin. What about the Dow futures? Yes, sirree. And what about our favorite for Bitcoin, the Russell 2000? You got it. It's pulling it up. If you're looking into liquidation levels, one of the things that you probably noticed, we've got a short liquidation level between 69,000 and 92 up to 69,191. Now, what are we doing? We're currently above that area. There were a lot of shorts concentrated in that area just about an hour ago. The shorts will move around, but it's just a key thing to understand that the shorts have been whacked. Now, where are the longs hanging out? The major long liquidation levels are between 67,442 and 67,813 at the time of recording this video. You'll find that liquidation levels are ever changing. They literally change on a second-by-second basis. We need to trade and invest according to structure. So let's throw on the structural levels and check out what's cooking underneath the hood of Bitcoin. We can see that there's fairly strong structural resistance at 69,800. There's also structural support at 68,200. Now, what do you think is going to happen? Because we've passed through this particular area of short liquidations that's been driving the price up, do you think we'll continue on to 69,800? Or do you think that we'll just come back like this or rally up further? Or potentially come back and test the 68,200, moving into this structural level of just a little bit just north of 67,500, where all the longs would start to get whacked. Always consider there's a bullish case scenario where price goes up and a bearish case scenario where price goes down. Now, what are we seeing here? The bulls will seek to take out the 69,800 structural resistance level and push to the 70,600 level. The bears will seek to take out this 68,200 level and push it down to around that 67,200. Please let me know in the comments, where do you think Bitcoin is going in the next 24 hours? If you answered the question, we need to look at total crypto market cap structural levels before we can answer where Bitcoin is going. You are legendary. And what do we notice when we throw on the indicator? We've just passed through a level of structural resistance and we've pushed through quite sharply. And you know why? Because all of those shorts on Bitcoin have been liquidated. They'll start to move around now, the short levels that is. To understand where Bitcoin could be going, we need to look at total crypto market cap. Okay, let's throw on the structural levels. Now, what do we want to see here? We want to see a reasonable bullish case and a reasonable bearish case, because we want to be prepared for whatever happens. A lot of people think it can only go up, and then they see something like this and they say, oh no, I'm wrong, and they sell. And when it goes up again, they buy, and down, they sell. You don't want to do this. You don't want to buy around the tops and sell at the bottoms, and it's very easy to do that. You just want to know where the structural levels are, and we can see we've just passed through a structural level. We do have overhead structural resistance levels, but they're reasonably light. A bullish case scenario would have us come up to that 2.36 trillion. We may find that we consolidate for a little while if that's the case. A bearish case scenario, we break through this structural resistance, hover around the 2.315, fill that negative CTKS gap and move back to 2.27 trillion. So far, as we're in a positive CTKS gap, we're favoring an upward price momentum, but just be aware these things can retrace. And in a retracement, that's absolutely okay, so long as it doesn't break structure. This, of course, Total and Bitcoin impact all your alts. Your alts will be just rallying at the current time. But don't forget, Bitcoin has a structural resistance level at 69,800. So we would anticipate Bitcoin starts to wobble around here before it either confirms an up move or a down move. And we could get a retracement as sure as price moves in a wave. It's just always retracing, coming up and coming down. But where would a healthy retracement be? If we look at the past level, around that 69,000 would be a strong retracement. If it does something like that, that would be fantastic. If we're looking around the 68,600, if we get a retracement here, it shows that the sellers are more in control. But if we confirm an upward move, that is also really healthy. These moves have to digest themselves, and that's the reason the price is always moving in a wave. It's always up and down, up and down. As soon as price goes up a little bit, people just scream out, "It's going to the moon." Well, it's going in a wave. One thing we noticed in the main markets in the past trading session, the VIX came down. Now that was fantastic. That's exactly what we want. Because the VIX is coming down, that's terrific. And we also noted that the dollar was coming down. So we've got a bit of a double whammy. A weakening dollar and a weakening VIX. Wow, fantastic. And of course, I referred to the dollar-yen combo because the DXY is paired with dollar-yen. They move in the same direction, and you can use dollar-yen to confirm DXY movements. This is row 1 of the cheat sheet. So row 1 is looking pretty good, and row 2 is looking nice as well. I was just describing in the last video across the weekend that when junk bonds comes up, it's a really good thing to keep your eye on. And look at gold. It's been going nuts. And silver is, look at this, phenomenal. It's doing really, really well. And we would anticipate that Bitcoin and the commodities are now starting to move in step. And we can see the euro dollar came up as well as the Aussie dollar, and copper was also coming up. So row 2 looks actually really good from a risk-on perspective. For row 3, what we're looking at here is just the indices that close up. They go to sleep, not like the futures. And we know the futures are all rallying upwards, so that is quite neat. Row 3 is positive. Row 4, looking into the individual stocks. We saw a little bit of a rally in terms of Apple, and then it sold into the close. Tesla also sold into the close. Microsoft showed strength into the close, and Nvidia was relatively flat. In terms of row 4, we see a slight degree of weakness, so therefore we need to look at the indice futures. And so far, the indice futures are looking really, really good. So what are we detecting here? Risk on is entering the market, and it's being supported across all financial markets. Getting into the crypto market in row 5, looking at total crypto market cap, it's looking pretty good. The blue line is always Bitcoin. What about Bitcoin? This cyan color is actually total crypto market cap. It is looking pretty good as well. What about ETH? Ethereum is showing a sign of life. Good on you, ETH. And MicroStrategy is doing well. When we look at row 6, we're actually seeking to confirm row 5 actions. And when we look at Litecoin, there's definite weakness popping in there. Bitcoin Cash looking a little bit stronger. We need to keep our eye on what Litecoin is doing today. BNB is just following Bitcoin's gravitational pull, just doing a slight pullback at the current time. And you can think Ethereum Classic and Ethereum are moving together. So this is relatively positive, but I would suggest that you keep your eye on especially the Litecoin levels. ADA, Cardano is looking really good, as is Solana, Go Sol, and Dogecoin, which has been going nuts recently, is still going nuts right now, and XRP following Bitcoin's gravitational pull. Hence, when we look across the cheat sheet, we can see that it's looking pretty good. Everything is aligning for upward price momentum. This would favor the bullish case scenario. But don't just lock it in and leave it. You need to keep your eyes on the charts. When it comes to looking for opportunities, we can see that Bitcoin, of course, it's coming up, and that is pulling all the alts up with it. Now, what do we notice? Some of the alts that were overextended, Storage and Sia Coin, they came up previously and now profit is being taken on them. They're in the lower bank. And notice Litecoin is also lower bank. Arbitrum, Bluezell, Cake, Solana, Near, Jup, they're all looking pretty good. They're top bank plays. Looking into the ecosystems can give you some really good ideas. We can see inside the ETH ecosystem, ENS and CHR are doing really cool. What about RWA? RSR is up and Dusk is lower bank. What about gaming? Don't forget that Ape has just aped up so incredibly much. You can see profit takers are in Ape right now. What about the Solana ecosystem? Ray and Jup and Helium are doing really, really well. Inside the service, Solana is the greatest gainer, followed by Ethereum, ADA, and Ethereum Classic. No wonder Ethereum Classic and ETH just move together, so they're really good to keep an eye on. And we can see Litecoin is lower bank. AI and big data, Near is going far. What about the memes? Bonk is just bonking it, just followed by Pepe and Whiff. What about distributed computing and file storage? Hot is looking really hot. Inside the wallet ecosystem, 1 inch is inching up to the top bank. What about DeFi? Radium just radiating positivity. DePIN, hot, is not hollow at all. It's going really well. And ENA is top bank and Audio bottom bank, lower bank. Inside the centralized exchanges, WazirX is doing well and Woo not too badly at all. MX not so much. What about the DEXs, the decentralized exchanges? Sushi, wow, what a good Japanese meal that is. And Ray and Perp. Dodo is going the way of the dodo. It's not doing too well. What about the Bitcoin ecosystem? Audi and ICP are up there. And Layer 2, SKL, OP, Arbitrum. Wow, good to know. What caused all this mischief, you say? Well, you're looking at the FOMC and you're looking at the federal funds rate, and you can see right now there's a 99.3% probability in around 18 days of a 25 basis point decrease. Remember, it was hovering around, keeping it current and not changing it. This has weakened the dollar and in turn has pulled the VIX down. Thank you, FOMC. Looking through the cheat sheet, you can get the cheat sheet absolutely free of charge on ctksmethod.org. And if you go up, you'll see that you can learn how to mark up the charts yourself, or we can do it for you. One thing that you might like to do is just to scroll down and see examples of real trades that have been shared on YouTube using the CTKS method. And there's a lot more information on there that you can actually have a look through. Therefore, coming back to it, where do you think Bitcoin and crypto are going to? You think a bullish case is warranted, or a bearish case, or a retracement, or a collapse down, or just a banana zone and everything's going nuts? Please let me know in the comments. And don't forget, always back up whatever position you have inside 3 dimensions. An up case, a down case, and a neutral case. Always think inside those 3 terms, because that's the way price moves. You don't want to be caught off guard. You want to be prepared at all times. Have a great day or night ahead, my friends, and Kate and I look forward to catching up with you again in the next video. Bye for now. And the secret word for today is futures.